The morning sun blazed over San Francisco, but inside the opulent boardroom of Cross Memorial Hospital, the air was cold as ice. Luna Martin stood frozen at the doorway, her nurse's badge still clipped to the pale blue uniform she wore, her eyes locked on the man seated behind the imposing mahogany desk. Ryan Miller, her husband, the white billionaire who owned the Cross healthcare empire, sat there like a king on his throne. The once warm gaze that had captured her heart was now replaced by steely gray eyes, devoid of tenderness. Just 6 months ago, they had pledged their vows in a simple wedding, and Luna had believed their love could withstand anything. But now, he looked at her as though she were a stranger. "Luna, you're fired," Ryan said flatly, his voice sharp as a blade cutting through the air. The other people in the room, the board members, assistants, and a handful of unfamiliar faces remained silent, their eyes deliberately avoiding hers. Luna felt the blood drain from her body. "Ryan, what are you saying? I don't understand." He rose tall and commanding in his perfectly tailored suit. "You heard me. The fact that Ryan Miller's wife works as a nurse in my hospital has become a humiliation for the family. People are talking, Luna. They're saying that Ryan Miller, couldn't find a wife worthy of my stature." His words struck her like blows to the chest. Instinctively, Luna placed a trembling hand over her stomach, where a fragile new life was quietly growing, a secret she had planned to share with him that very night, over candlelight and dinner. She had imagined his smile, his embrace, their shared dream of a family. But that dream shattered in an instant. "Humiliation," she repeated, her voice quivering. "Ryan, I'm your wife. I love you, and I thought you loved me too." "Love." His laugh was cold, bitter. "Love doesn't change the fact that you're just a nurse, Luna. Love won't make you fit for the Miller legacy." He turned away as though her very presence was a burden he no longer wished to bear. The ground beneath her seemed to collapse. She had lost not only the job she cherished, where she had poured her heart into caring for patients, but also the man she once believed was her destiny. As an African-American woman, Luna had long endured doubtful glances and whispered questions about whether she was worthy of her place. But she had never imagined that Ryan, the man who once held her hand and promised to face the world with her, would be the one to wound her the most. "Ryan, you can't do this," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We promised to stand by each other no matter what." He didn't look at her. "The Miller family has standards, Luna, and you don't meet them. Gather your things. I don't want to see you here again." The silence of the room was crushing, broken only by the weight of stares, some curious, some pitying, and others almost gloating. Luna refused to crumble in front of them, in front of Ryan. She lifted her chin, even as tears threatened to fall, and walked out of the boardroom. Each step was a vow she would prove to him and to the world that she was more than just a nurse. The days that followed were a nightmare. Luna discovered she was pregnant only 3 weeks after Ryan had officially filed for divorce. He never gave her the chance to explain, never wanted to hear a word. Under the iron hand of Eleanor Miller, Ryan's powerful and prejudiced grandmother, the family quickly arranged his engagement to a more suitable woman from the upper class. Alone, unemployed, and with a child on the way, Luna faced a brutal reality. But Luna was not one to surrender. Raised in a working-class family in Oakland by a resilient mother who single-handedly raised 3 children, she knew hardship was only a challenge to overcome. She moved into a small apartment, worked part-time at a community clinic, and enrolled in medical school. With scholarships and long night shifts, she began rebuilding her life. Each night she placed a hand on her belly and whispered to her unborn child, "We can do this, my love. I'll give you a life no one can look down on." The years that followed tested every ounce of her strength. Luna studied relentlessly, enduring skeptical glances from professors and classmates who questioned whether a woman of color and a single mother could survive Harvard Medical School. But whenever she felt like giving up, she remembered Ryan's smug smile in that boardroom, fueling her determination to press forward. She wasn't only fighting for herself, but for her unborn son Marcus, who would become the light guiding her way. When Marcus was born, Luna discovered a new kind of power. The boy with his father's storm-gray eyes gave her purpose. She took him to libraries, studying as he slept in his stroller. She whispered dreams into his ears of becoming a surgeon, saving lives, and giving him a dignified future. She promised you would never feel like you're not enough, even though he was too small to understand. 9 years later, Luna stood before the window of her office on the top floor of Cross Memorial, gazing at the sunlit San Francisco Bay. At 34, she was one of the youngest chiefs of surgery in U.S. history, an African-American woman who had shattered every barrier before her. Her name appeared in medical journals. Her surgical techniques were taught in universities. Hospitals nationwide sought her expertise. Yet her most incredible pride wasn't her acclaim, but Marcus, the brilliant, confident boy, growing up knowing he could be anything he wanted. Today, an important meeting awaited her. Ryan Miller, now chairman of the board of Cross Healthcare, had requested to see Dr. Martin to discuss the performance of the surgical department. Luna allowed herself a bitter smile at the irony. The man who once called her a humiliation was about to walk into her office, completely unaware that the woman he had abandoned was now the very force shaping his empire. Straightening her white coat, she drew a deep breath and prepared to face the past. The first rays of dawn slipped through the curtains of a modest apartment in Oakland, where Luna Martin began each day with a strong cup of coffee and a daunting to-do list. Ever since the ordeal at Cross Memorial, her life had been turned upside down. From a devoted nurse, she had become a medical student, a single mother, and a relentless fighter determined to prove her worth. Yet the journey was anything but easy. Every step forward came with new obstacles, and Luna knew only sheer willpower could see her through. Her years at Harvard Medical School were a battle without pause. Luna had to endure grueling coursework and endless clinical rotations, all while balancing the demands of raising Marcus. With his shining gray eyes and boundless curiosity, the boy became her most significant source of strength. After tucking Marcus into bed each night, she sat at a small desk, the dim light illuminating thick textbooks. She took notes, solved problems, and prepared for exams, often surviving on just 3 hours of sleep. And whenever fatigue threatened to break her, she looked at a photo of Marcus beaming in the park, and resolve surged back into her veins. Marcus, though young, quickly grasped that his mother was doing something extraordinary. He often sat beside Luna in the medical school library, sketching hearts or veins inspired by the anatomy books she left on the table. "Mom, how does the heart work?" he once asked at 4 years old, clutching a crayon drawing of a crude heart. Luna smiled and explained thoroughly, sparking his love of science. Moments like these deepened their bond and reminded Luna that she was building a future for herself and her son. Beyond academics, Luna faced invisible barriers. In an environment where most of her classmates came from privileged families, she felt the weight of probing glances and veiled questions about her background. A professor once asked, half joking, half serious, whether she had the stamina to pursue cardiac surgery, a field demanding precision and near superhuman endurance. Luna responded by topping the anatomy exam, forcing the professor to acknowledge her brilliance. Small victories like that, hard won as they were, became her way of claiming her place. After graduation, Luna moved to Baltimore to begin her residency at Johns Hopkins, one of the world's premier hospitals. There she faced her first surgeries where every decision could mean life or death. One night, while assisting in an emergency heart surgery, she got a call from the nanny saying Marcus had a high fever. Her heart raced with worry, but she kept her hands steady, completing the operation with flawless concentration before rushing home to cradle her shivering son. In that moment, she vowed to find a better balance between her calling as a surgeon and her role as a mother. The residency years flew by in a blur. Luna honed her skills into those of an exceptional surgeon and learned to put Marcus first. Weekends were sacred. She took him to the park science museums or baked cookies in their cramped kitchen. These small, joyful moments fueled her through the long shifts and relentless demands of medicine. With his sharp mind and warm heart, Marcus grew more confident under her care. "Mom, I want to be a doctor like you," he declared one afternoon as they built a papier-mâché volcano for his school science fair. Luna smiled, knowing his words weren't childish fancy, but the seed of an absolute dream. After Johns Hopkins, Luna won a research fellowship at the Mayo Clinic, where she pioneered a new heart surgery technique that reduced post-operative complications. The innovation quickly drew attention, and her name began to appear in medical journals. Invitations to speak at international conferences poured in, where she addressed hundreds of physicians and professors with poise and authority. Yet even standing on the pinnacle of recognition, Luna never forgot the days she had been a dismissed nurse, humiliated by the man she once loved. The chance to return to Cross Memorial came unexpectedly. One day she received a call from the hospital's CEO, who was searching for a new chief of surgery to rebuild the cardiology department. Though she knew the hospital still belonged to Ryan Miller's family, Luna didn't hesitate. She saw this as the opportunity to prove that she had survived her past and transformed it into the foundation of her triumph. She accepted the position, moved back to San Francisco with Marcus, and began building a stellar surgical team that raised the department's success rates to the highest in the region. Luna could feel fate's irony from her new office on the top floor of Cross Memorial. This hospital had once been the place of her deepest humiliation, but now she commanded one of its most vital divisions. She had turned pain into power, betrayal into strength. And yet, deep within, she knew the past was never truly gone. Each time she looked into Marcus's gray eyes, she was reminded of Ryan, the man who had once shattered her world. That morning, as Luna reviewed the surgical schedule, her assistant Jennifer's voice came through the intercom. "Dr. Martin, your 9 a.m. meeting is here. The board's chairman, Mr. Ryan Miller, would like to see you in person." Luna's heart thudded, but she quickly steadied herself. Straightening her white coat, she drew a long breath and prepared to face the man who had once been her everything. She didn't know whether Ryan would recognize her, but one thing was sure this time. She was no longer the vulnerable nurse of 9 years ago. She was Dr. Luna Martin, Chief of Surgery, and she was ready for whatever came next. Morning sunlight poured through the expansive glass windows of Luna Martin's office, illuminating framed awards on the walls and the neatly arranged dark wood furniture. Standing by her desk, Luna skimmed through a stack of upcoming surgical case files, her mind focused, yet unable to shake Jennifer's earlier announcement. Ryan Miller, chairman of the Cross Healthcare Board, was on his way to this office. She drew in a deep breath, steadying her heartbeat. She had faced pressure before, but this time the pressure carried the name of the man who had once shattered her heart. The office door opened, and Ryan entered, with the same confident stride she remembered. His tailored gray suit clung to his frame, silver strands in his hair, lending him even more authority. But what caught Luna's attention most was his gaze, still sharp, still commanding, but now shadowed with weariness, as if the years had etched themselves into him. He smiled, polite but distant, and extended a hand. "Dr. Martin, I'm Ryan Miller, chairman of the board at Cross Healthcare. It's a pleasure to meet you." Luna shook his hand, her grip steady, though a storm raged inside her. He didn't recognize her. After all the years, Ryan looked at her, as though she were a stranger. "Mr. Miller," she replied evenly, her tone professional. "Thank you for coming. I understand you'd like to discuss the performance of the surgical department." Ryan nodded, settling into the chair across from her desk. "That's right. I've heard much about your reputation. Under your leadership, the department's metrics are outstanding, the highest surgical success rates in the region, and significantly reduced patient recovery times. I want to learn more about how you've achieved these results." A wry smile tugged at Luna's lips. The irony nearly made her laugh. The same man who once dismissed her work as a nurse as a humiliation now sat praising her achievements, unaware of who she truly was. "Thank you," she said calmly. "The department's success comes from a dedicated team and a simple philosophy: put patients first, innovate constantly, and never settle for the present." Ryan nodded, clearly impressed. "You speak like a true leader. I also hear you trained at Harvard, did your residency at Johns Hopkins, and conducted research at the Mayo Clinic. An impressive journey. What brought you to Cross Memorial when you could have chosen anywhere?" His question gave Luna pause. She met his eyes, searching for any hint of recognition, but found only genuine curiosity. "I was drawn to this hospital's reputation," she replied, her tone carrying a subtle edge, "and to the opportunity to lead a department where I could drive innovation rather than be restrained by outdated traditions." Her words were an arrow aimed at the Miller family values, the ideals that had cost her everything. But Ryan seemed oblivious to the undertone. "That's a commendable approach," he said. "Cross Healthcare needs people like you to move forward." The conversation continued, Ryan asking about new surgical protocols, and Luna outlining her vision for greater efficiency. Outwardly, her responses were clear and professional. Inwardly, a storm of emotions churned. Every word from him, every approving nod was a reminder of all she had lost and everything she had built from the ashes. She wanted to shout and force him to see who she was, but she kept silent, letting her success speak. Suddenly, the office door burst open, and Marcus bounded in with the vibrant energy of a boy full of life. "Mom, Ms. Peterson said I could stop by your office before school." He halted when he spotted Ryan, curiosity flickering in his eyes, but without a trace of shyness. "Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were in a meeting." Luna's heart skipped. She glanced at Ryan, who was staring at Marcus with an expression caught between recognition and confusion. The resemblance was undeniable. The same storm-gray eyes, the strong jawline, even the natural confidence in how Marcus stood. "It's fine, Marcus," Luna said, keeping her voice steady. "This is Mr. Miller, the chairman of the board. Mr. Miller, this is my son Marcus." Marcus stepped forward and extended his hand with the courtesy Luna had taught him. "Hello, sir," he said firmly. Ryan shook his hand, his gaze never leaving the boy's face. "Hello, Marcus," he replied, his voice faintly unsteady. "That's quite a firm handshake you've got." "Mom says a handshake tells people who you are before you even speak." Marcus grinned. Ryan smiled back, but Luna caught the flicker of unease in his eyes. He was trying to piece together a puzzle he didn't yet understand. "Marcus, Ms. Peterson is waiting for you in the lobby," Luna said gently, signaling him to leave. Marcus hugged her quickly before turning to Ryan. "Nice to meet you, sir." When the door shut behind him, the room grew heavier. Ryan turned back to Luna, his eyes filled with unspoken questions. "He's a remarkable boy," he said cautiously. "He has very striking eyes." Luna kept her expression neutral. "I've been told that. Apparently it's a trait inherited from his father's side." She emphasized the word father, deliberately watching his reaction. Ryan frowned as though trying to dredge up a memory, but said nothing. He continued that, You must be very busy as a department head and a single mother. Balancing work and family can't be easy. I manage. Luna replied, her voice sharper than she intended. My son always comes first, no matter what. Ryan nodded, but his eyes lingered on the spot where Marcus had stood, as though the boy's presence still haunted the room. The meeting ended shortly afterward, with Ryan promising to review Luna's proposal for more investment in surgical technology. But as he left, Luna knew the wheel of the past had begun to turn again. Ryan was no fool. He would soon realize the truth, and she needed to be ready. Left alone in her office, Luna stared at the San Francisco Bay, her heart heavy. She had built a new life, a brilliant career, and a safe home for Marcus. Yet Ryan's reappearance threatened to unravel it all. She wondered if she had the strength to face him again, not as the wounded wife of years past, but as the woman she had fought to become stronger than ever, unbreakable. In the days following his meeting in Luna Martin's office, Ryan Miller could not shake the image of young Marcus from his mind. The piercing gray eyes, the upright stance with natural confidence, and the proud smile all stirred an unsettling sense of familiarity. Ryan had met hundreds of people in his career, but never before had a child left him so unsettled. It wasn't mere curiosity. It felt like a whisper from the past, urging him to seek the truth. Late at night, Ryan sat alone in his private office at Cross Healthcare headquarters, sifting through old personnel records. He wasn't sure what exactly he was searching for, but instinct told him that Marcus and Luna were connected to him in a way he could not yet define. After hours of combing, he came across a thin file dated 9 years earlier, the record of a nurse named Aurora Mansfield, dismissed without apparent reason. Inside was a photograph Luna Martin, younger than her eyes brimming with passion, but unmistakably her. Ryan felt the blood drain from his face. Aurora Mansfield, Luna Martin, the wife he had once loved, once abandoned under the weight of the Miller family's expectations. She was Dr. Martin, the surgical chief, whom he had just praised. But what made his heart pound harder was a simple calculation. Marcus, the boy with his eyes. 9 years ago, he and Luna had separated. If Marcus was her son, could it be? Ryan dared not finish the thought. He slammed the file shut, pressing his hands against his face as a storm of emotions surged. He needed to confront Luna. He needed the truth. The next morning, Ryan returned to Cross Memorial, his steps brisk but heavy. He demanded to see Luna without an appointment, startling her assistant. Dr. Martin is preparing for surgery, sir, Jennifer explained, flustered. But if you insist, I'll call her. This is important, Ryan said tensely. I need to see her now. Luna was studying an X-ray of a cardiac patient inside her office, her focus unbroken as always. A chill ran down her spine when Jennifer told her Ryan was waiting. She had known this moment would come, but not so soon. She nodded for Jennifer to let him in, then straightened her white coat like armor before a battle. Ryan entered stripped of the polite formality he had shown before. He shut the door firmly, his eyes locking onto hers. Aurora Mansfield, he said, his voice low, heavy. It was you. Luna stood tall, unflinching. She had braced for this moment for 9 years, yet her heart still pounded. I am Dr. Luna Martin, she replied, her voice calm but cutting. Aurora Mansfield was the wife you fired and abandoned. She no longer exists. Ryan staggered back a step, as though her words had struck him. Why didn't you say anything? Why let me sit across from you, praising you without telling me we were once? His voice broke. A husband and wife. Why should I? Luna countered, stepping closer, her eyes unwavering. You didn't recognize me. You looked at me as if our years together meant nothing. I'm not here to relive the past, Ryan. I'm here to do my work to build a life for my son." Ryan inhaled sharply, his gaze falling before rising again to hers. "Marcus," he whispered. "The boy. He's my son, isn't he?" The room grew suffocating. Luna felt the walls she had built around herself, and Marcus began to feel. She turned toward her desk, leaning against it to steady herself. "You want the truth?" she asked, her tone laced with defiance. "Fine. Marcus is your son. I discovered I was pregnant 3 weeks after you divorced me, after you told me I was a humiliation, that our love wasn't enough to satisfy the Miller family's standards." Ryan swayed, gripping the back of a chair for support. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked hoarsely, his voice breaking with anguish. "I had a right to know." "A right?" Luna laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "You forfeited that right when you cast me out of your life, Ryan. You called me unworthy, stripped me of the work I loved, and turned your back on the love I gave you. Did you expect me to run back and announce my pregnancy? Could you marry me out of obligation? Hide me and our child as some shameful secret?" Ryan shook his head, his fists tightening. "I didn't. I never realized how wrong I was. I was drowning in family pressure and hollow expectations of status. I was a fool, Luna. But if I had known about Marcus, and if you had," Luna cut in, her eyes blazing, "what would you have done? Dragged Marcus into your world where your family would see him as a stain. Tried to buy forgiveness with money the way your family always does. Marcus is my son. I raised him alone. I gave him a life filled with love and confidence. You had no part in that." Ryan sank into a chair, his head bowed under the weight of the truth. "I want to make it right," he said quietly. "I want to be Marcus's father. I want to give back what I've missed." Luna looked at him, her heart torn between fury and a flicker of sorrow. She remembered the man she once loved fiercely, who had promised her a future. But she also remembered the pain of his betrayal, and she could not let it happen again, not to her or Marcus. "You are not Marcus's father," she said firmly. "You're his biological donor. Fatherhood is earned, not claimed. And I will not let you hurt my son." Ryan lifted his head, his eyes raw with both pain and resolve. "I know I don't deserve it, Luna, but I want to try. If you let me, I want to be part of his life." Luna fell silent, weighing his words. She knew Marcus deserved the chance to know his father, but she also knew that letting Ryan in carried enormous risks. "I'll think about it," she said at last. "But if you want to be part of Marcus's life, you must prove you've changed. And that won't be easy." When Ryan left her office, Luna sank into her chair, her body trembling as if she had weathered a storm. She gazed out the window at the bright San Francisco sun, her mind in turmoil. The secret she had guarded for 9 years was out, and she knew nothing would ever be simple again. The fading light of late afternoon filtered through the windows of Ryan Miller's luxurious office at Cross Healthcare headquarters. He sat in silence, his eyes fixed on an old photograph he had found in his personal archive. He and Luna, on their wedding day, their radiant smiles, as though the world belonged to them. Now that memory felt like a dagger in his chest. After his confrontation with Luna, the truth about Marcus, his son had upended everything. Ryan knew he couldn't undo the past, but he was determined to build a future, even if it meant defying his family. That morning, the phone on his desk rang. The cold, commanding voice of Eleanor, the formidable matriarch of the Miller family, came through the speaker. "Ryan, we need to talk. Now." Without needing to ask, Ryan knew what the subject would be. He drove to the family estate in Pacific Heights, where Eleanor awaited in the grand living room, seated regally on a velvet chair like a queen. Beside her sat Richard, his cousin, ever loyal to the family's rigid traditions. "You know why I've summoned you?" Eleanor began, her eyes sharp as blades. I hear you've been publicly associating with a child the son of that nurse you once married. This ends immediately. Ryan clenched his fists, forcing calm into his voice. Marcus is my son, grandmother. I will neither deny him nor hide him as some shameful secret. Eleanor slammed her hand against the table, her tone searing. Do you understand the damage this will cause? The Miller family has a name and a legacy. An illegitimate child born to a woman beneath our class will stain everything. The board is already questioning your ability to lead. Richard leaned forward smoothly, his voice oiled with calculation. We can resolve this discreetly, Ryan. A financial settlement for the woman and the child. No need for public acknowledgement. You keep your CEO position, and the family keeps its reputation. Everyone wins. Ryan rose to his feet, his eyes blazing. No. Marcus is my son, and Luna is his mother. I won't trade my family for appearances. If the board wants to remove me, let them try. Eleanor's brows furrowed, unused to such defiance. You're destroying yourself, Ryan, and the empire this family built. Ryan replied firmly, that empire means nothing if it costs me my son. Turning on his heel, he left Eleanor and Richard in a heavy silence. He knew his words had declared war, but this time he was no longer the weak man who once bowed under their pressure. Meanwhile, at Cross Memorial, Luna pressed on with sharp focus. She had just finished a meeting with her surgical team discussing the rollout of a new patient monitoring system designed to reduce surgical wait times. Yet no matter how busy she was, her mind kept circling back to her clash with Ryan. She knew he wanted to be part of Marcus's life, but she couldn't risk exposing her son to the same man who had once abandoned her so easily. That weekend, Luna received a message from Ryan. I'd like to see Marcus if you'll allow it. He has a soccer game this afternoon. May I watch? After hesitation, she replied, Fine, but only to watch. Don't make promises to Marcus you can't keep. She refused to let Marcus pin his hopes on a father who might disappear again. At the school's soccer field, Ryan sat among the parents in the stands, feeling both out of place and exhilarated. When Marcus ran onto the field, jersey number 7 gleaming in the sun, Ryan couldn't stop smiling. The boy played confidently and quickly scoring a goal that sent the crowd cheering. After the game, Marcus rushed over, cheeks flushed with excitement. Mr. Miller, did you see my goal? Ryan knelt to meet his eyes. I saw, Marcus. You played brilliantly. I'm very proud of you. He wanted to say more, but Luna's cautious gaze from a distance held him back. Standing a few meters away, Luna observed the exchange. She saw sincerity in how Ryan spoke to Marcus, yet painful memories kept her heart shackled. When Marcus pulled Ryan closer to show off the small medal from his coach, Luna stepped in. Marcus, it's time to go, she said gently but firmly. Thank you for coming, Mr. Miller. Ryan nodded, understanding. She wasn't ready to let him in. Thank you for giving me the chance, he said, his voice earnest. I'll be at the next game. The following week, Ryan began carving out more time for Marcus. He appeared at the school's science fair, where Marcus presented a simple model of the circulatory system. Ryan listened intently, asked questions, and even helped Marcus fine-tune part of the project until it worked perfectly. You're really talented, Ryan said, unable to hide his admiration. Got any ideas for your next project? Marcus grinned brightly. I want to do something about the heart like Mom. She says the heart is the most important thing because it keeps everything else alive. Ryan nodded, a pang piercing his chest as he thought of Luna, the woman who had raised this boy to be so bright, so passionate. Meanwhile, pressure from the Miller family intensified. Richard called to warn him that the board was considering an emergency session to discuss his inappropriate conduct. They think your public involvement with this child is damaging the company's image, Richard said smoothly. Think carefully, Ryan. You don't want to lose everything over a mistake from the past. Ryan cut him off. Marcus is not a mistake. He's my son. And if the board thinks I'll abandon him to keep my title, they're wrong. He hung up, a strange sense of freedom washing over him. For the first time, he felt he was doing the right thing, even if it cost him everything he had built. At the hospital, Luna noticed the curious stares of colleagues. Rumors about her connection with Ryan began to spread, though she tried to maintain professionalism. She knew Ryan's presence in Marcus's life would bring upheaval, and she had to protect her son from harm. Yet each time she saw Marcus's radiant smile after spending time with Ryan, she couldn't help but wonder, was she being too rigid? Could she believe Ryan had truly changed? The projector's glow lit Luna Martin's focused face in the small conference room at Cross Memorial. She stood before a team of surgeons, presenting CT scans of a patient with a rare congenital heart defect, a case so complex that even leading experts would hesitate. This surgery demanded absolute precision and had already drawn the attention of the medical press, with journalists requesting to follow the outcome. Luna knew this was her chance to solidify the department's reputation and a challenge that could define her career. Luna explained that we'll use the technique I developed at the Mayo Clinic, pointing to a 3D model of the patient's heart. It will allow us to repair the valve without fully opening the chest, reducing risks and shortening recovery time. The doctors nodded, though Luna caught flickers of doubt in the eyes of her senior colleagues. One older surgeon, Dr. Harper, spoke up. This technique hasn't been tested on a complicated case, Dr. Martin. Are you sure it will work? Luna smiled, her tone confident, but not arrogant. I've performed this procedure more than 20 times with an almost perfect success rate. Still, I understand your concerns. We'll prepare a contingency plan and run a full simulation before we proceed. Her decisiveness quieted the room. At last, the team agreed to move forward. But outside the operating room, Luna faced a different kind of pressure. Rumors of her past with Ryan Miller had spread through the hospital, fanned by whispers that her appointment as chief of surgery was less about merit and more about personal ties to the board's chairman. During a leadership meeting, the HR director, Mrs. Carter, delicately raised the issue. Dr. Martin, we've received comments questioning the transparency of your appointment. Perhaps it would help if you clarified your relationship with Mr. Miller. Luna tightened her fists under the table, but her voice remained calm. My position results from 10 years of relentless work, from residency at Johns Hopkins to research at the Mayo Clinic. If there are doubts about my ability, I can provide surgical records and peer evaluations nationwide. As for Mr. Miller, our relationship is personal and does not interfere with my work. Mrs. Carter nodded, but Luna knew the whispers wouldn't stop. Leaving the meeting, she felt the weight of suspicion pressing down, yet her resolve hardened. The upcoming surgery would silence every doubt. Meanwhile, Ryan continued his efforts with Marcus. He attended another soccer game, bringing a small gift, a children's anatomy book. Marcus's curiosity lit up as he flipped through the pages, firing off questions about the heart. Ryan said, doing his best to recall what he'd read, that the heart is like an engine, but also reacts to feelings. When you're happy, your heart beats faster. Marcus nodded eagerly. Yeah, Mom says my heart beats like a drum when I'm nervous before a game. Ryan laughed, warmth flooding him as he saw Marcus's excitement. After the match, he took Marcus out for ice cream at a shop near the school. Sitting on a wooden bench, Marcus suddenly asked Mr. Miller, "Why do you come to my games so much? Most of my friends' dads don't come as often as you do." Ryan froze the ice cream heavy in his hand. He longed to tell the truth, but Luna's watchful caution from past encounters echoed in his mind. "I like watching you play," he answered gently. "You're excellent, and I want to be part of these moments with you." Marcus studied him for a second, then smiled. Thanks. I like it when you come. At home, Luna noticed the shift. Marcus spoke more often about Ryan recounting little stories of how he'd fixed a deflated ball or explained something from the anatomy book. Though she tried not to admit it, Luna felt a flicker of unease, and perhaps something more. Ryan seemed genuine in his efforts. But she could not forget the cruel words of the past. She reminded herself that his actions might be nothing more than a temporary attempt at redemption, and she would not let Marcus be hurt if Ryan faltered again. The day of the surgery arrived, and tension thickened the operating room. Outside in the hallway, medical reporters waited hungry for news. Inside, clad in scrubs, Luna led her team with remarkable composure. Every incision, every stitch was executed with razor-sharp precision. After 4 grueling hours, the operation concluded successfully. The patient stabilized and spontaneous applause broke out among the team. Luna removed her mask, smiling faintly. She knew this victory wasn't just medical, it was proof that no one could question her abilities. News of the surgery spread quickly with headlines, hailing Luna as a pioneer in cardiac surgery. But her triumph was short-lived. A colleague forwarded her an anonymous email to the hospital board, accusing her of receiving special favors from Ryan to secure funding for her department. Luna gripped her phone, fury rising. She had worked tirelessly to earn her place, and now whispers threatened to drag her down again. That evening, she summoned Ryan to her office. When he arrived, Luna wasted no time. Ryan, the rumors about us are damaging my reputation. Did you say anything to the board to protect me? Ryan shook his head, his gaze unwavering. No, Luna. I didn't intervene. I know you don't need me to prove your worth. But if someone is trying to harm you, please tell me. I'll take care of it. Luna searched his face looking for deception, but found only determination. She exhaled, her voice softening. Thank you. But I need you to keep your distance at work. Marcus is one thing, but I can't let these rumors undermine my career. Ryan agreed. But as he left, they both knew the pressures from his family, the hospital, and the media were only beginning. Alone in her office, Luna gazed out at the city lights. She wondered if she could keep the walls around her heart and her son strong enough against the storms that were surely on their way. It was a peaceful Saturday afternoon at the park near Luna Martin's home, the air carrying the scent of freshly cut grass and the laughter of children. Marcus darted across the field in his favorite blue t-shirt, clutching a dragon-shaped kite that Ryan Miller had given him. Ryan stood nearby, instructing him to hold the string so it could soar higher. Pull a little harder. Marcus, Ryan called, his voice filled with excitement. But don't let it slip away. Marcus laughed, his eyes shining, as the kite rose into the brilliant blue sky. From a bench a short distance away, Luna sat with a cup of coffee in hand, watching. She agreed to let Ryan spend more time with Marcus, but she kept her guard up like a soldier protecting her heart and son. Over the past weeks, Ryan had proven his dedication. He showed up on time for Marcus's soccer games and helped him with science projects, answering his endless questions with surprising patience. Still, Luna couldn't shake the memory of his cruel words years ago, and she wondered whether his change was real or just a temporary attempt to ease his guilt. "Look, Mom!" Marcus shouted, pointing to the kite circling high above. Luna smiled, waving back. She couldn't deny that Marcus was happier with Ryan in his life. He now spoke about Mr. Miller with unguarded enthusiasm, as if Ryan had always been part of his world. It warmed her, yet it also filled her with fear. If Ryan broke his promises, Marcus would be the one most hurt. When the kite finally crashed, landed in the grass, Ryan and Marcus ran toward her, both breathless from laughter. Mr. Miller said he'll take me to the science exhibition at the museum next week, Marcus announced, his eyes sparkling. They even have a giant model of a heart, right? Mr. Miller? Ryan nodded, glancing at Luna as though asking permission. If your mother agrees, I'd love to take you. I hear it's incredible with interactive exhibits about how the heart works. Luna gave a cautious nod. That does sound fun, Marcus. Let me check our schedule first. Marcus agreed, then dashed off to fetch his kite, leaving Luna and Ryan in a rare, quiet moment. Ryan sat down on the bench, careful to keep a respectful distance. Thank you, he said sincerely, for letting me spend time with Marcus. He's an extraordinary boy. He's everything to me, Luna replied, her eyes following her son. I need to be sure he isn't hurt, Ryan. He deserves a reliable father, not someone who only shows up when it's convenient. Ryan's expression tightened with pain. I understand. And I know I have to prove I'm worthy of him. I don't expect you to trust me overnight, Luna, but I'm trying every day. Luna studied him, searching for deception in his eyes, but found only sincerity. She wanted to believe him and trust that the man who once broke her heart had truly changed. Yet the fear of betrayal kept her walls firmly in place. Just keep your promises to Marcus, she said at last. That's what matters most. The following week, Ryan kept his word. He took Marcus to the science exhibition, and they spent hours exploring from the giant heart model to a blood circulation simulator. Marcus, endlessly curious, peppered him with questions, and Ryan responded enthusiastically, sometimes discreetly, checking his phone for answers he wasn't sure of. When they returned, Marcus bubbled over with excitement, telling Luna everything he had learned, from how heart valves worked to why blood is red. Mr. Miller knows a lot, Mom, he said proudly. But he also said, you're the best at hearts because you save real people. Luna smiled, though inside her chest a battle raged. She could see Marcus growing more attached to Ryan, filling her with joy and dread. She had built a stable life for her son, one where he knew he was enough, where he felt worthy. But was she risking that fragile stability to let Ryan deeper into their lives? Meanwhile, at Cross Memorial, Luna faced the ongoing strain of rumors. A small piece in a local medical journal hinted at her personal relationship with Ryan, suggesting her department's success might be tied to favoritism from the board. Fury burned in her chest, but she knew the best rebuttal was her work. She led her team through a series of complex surgeries, each a success, gradually silencing the whispers. Still, she recognized that Ryan's reemergence in Marcus's life was complicating everything from her reputation to her emotions. One evening, as Luna read Marcus a bedtime story, he suddenly asked, Mom, is Mr. Miller your best friend? Because I see how he looks at you like he really likes you. Luna froze, startled by her son's perceptiveness. Mr. Miller is someone important to me, but grown-up relationships are complicated, sweetheart. What matters is that he wants to be here for you, to make you happy. Marcus nodded, though his eyes revealed he understood more than his years suggested. I like it when he's around. I think he wants to make you happy, too. Luna pulled her son close. Her heart tugged in two directions, protecting Marcus from any hurt, and the small, fragile part of her that longed to believe Ryan could still be the man she once loved. After Marcus drifted to sleep, Luna sat in the living room staring at the city lights. She thought of Ryan's patience with Marcus and how he listened, encouraged, and slowly became indispensable in her son's world. But she also thought of the scars he had left on her heart, and she wondered if she dared to give him another chance. She knew this journey was not just about Marcus and Ryan, but about whether she could learn to trust again. Morning sunlight poured into Cross Memorial, but inside Luna Martin's office, the air felt heavy, like a storm about to break. On her desk lay the San Francisco Chronicle, its headline blazing, Scandal at Cross. Healthcare CEO admits to having a son with former employee. The article details her past with Ryan Miller, emphasizing that she had been fired and is now the head of surgery at his hospital. Words like favoritism and conflict of interest repeated throughout, making Luna clench her fists. Everything she had built felt suddenly at risk, threatened by baseless rumors. She picked up the phone and called the hospital's PR department. "We need an official statement," Luna said firmly. "My position is based on merit, not any personal relationship." Emily, the PR lead, agreed, but warned her. "The media won't let this go easily, Dr. Martin. They're digging into everything. Reporters have already contacted your former colleagues about your time as a nurse." Luna nodded, though a quiet rage burned inside her. She had spent a decade proving her worth, and now her achievements were reduced to favoritism. She knew Ryan's reappearance in Marcus's life had fueled the story, but she couldn't blame her son for the joy he found in knowing his father. Meanwhile, at Cross Healthcare headquarters, Ryan faced his own battle. With Richard and several board members at her side, Eleanor convened an emergency meeting to address the instability the article had caused. Richard, smirking, laid a thick packet in front of Ryan. "This is a petition from the board," he said smoothly. "They're asking you to resign to prevent further damage to the company's reputation. We can negotiate a generous severance package if you agree to stay silent about the child." Ryan skimmed the document, his gaze icy. "No," he said sharply. "I will not abandon my son, and I certainly won't resign because you're afraid of tabloid headlines. Cross Healthcare isn't just a brand, it's a health institution. And I won't let the family's outdated values dictate its future." Eleanor slammed her hand on the table, her voice trembling with fury. "You're destroying everything this family built, Ryan. A child born out of wedlock. A woman beneath our class. Do you think this will ever be accepted? Marcus is my son, and Luna is an exceptional surgeon." Ryan shot back, standing to punctuate his words. "If the board wants me out, let them vote. But I will not abandon my family again." He walked out, leaving Eleanor and Richard in charged silence. He knew this decision could cost him everything: his title, power, and family support. But he felt free for the first time in years. Back at Cross Memorial, Luna endured the fallout. A group of nurses who once admired her now whispered behind her in the break room, "She must have something to do with Miller, right? How else does a nurse become department head so quickly?" Luna overheard as she passed by. Though tempted to confront them, she chose to walk away. She knew the only way to silence rumors was to keep proving herself. She threw herself into work with renewed intensity. A critical emergency case came in: a patient with a severe arterial blockage. Leading her team, Luna performed the surgery with breathtaking precision, finishing in record time and saving the patient's life. Later, an email from a colleague at the Mayo Clinic invited her to present her surgical techniques at an international conference. It reminded her that no matter what the media said, no one could take away what she had accomplished. Meanwhile, Ryan kept building his bond with Marcus. One evening, he visited Luna's house to help Marcus prepare for a school science presentation. The boy had built a simple nervous system model with tiny lights to simulate brain signals. Ryan sat at the kitchen table, carefully helping Marcus label each part, while the boy excitedly explained, "I want to be a doctor, like Mom," Marcus said proudly. "She says the brain and the heart are the most important because they control everything." Ryan's chest warmed. "You have your mother's passion. You're going to do amazing things." Marcus studied him curiously. "Mr. Miller, how do you know so much about Mom?" "You always ask about her." Ryan hesitated, choosing his words. "Your mom is a very special person. I admire what she does, and I want to learn from her to be better too." Marcus nodded, satisfied with the answer. When Luna came home, she found Ryan and Marcus laughing at the table, the glowing model between them. She stopped in the doorway, her heart stirring despite herself. She wanted to keep her distance, but moments like this made her wonder if she was too hard on Ryan. "Mom," Marcus shouted, running to hug her. "Mr. Miller helped me finish my project. Isn't it cool?" Luna looked at the model, then at Ryan. "It's terrific," she said softly. "Thank you, Ryan." He smiled, his eyes hopeful. "My pleasure. I love spending time with Marcus." Later, after Marcus was asleep, Luna and Ryan sat together in the living room. She opened her mouth to set boundaries, but Ryan spoke first. "Luna, I know the article has made things more complicated for you. I'm doing what I can with the press, but I won't hide Marcus. He's my son, and I want the world to know it." Luna's voice lowered, tinged with worry. "I don't want Marcus hurt by gossip, but I also don't want him growing up thinking he's a secret. Just be careful, Ryan. With him and with me." Ryan held her gaze, his voice earnest. "I promise. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you both." As he left, Luna sat staring out the window at the city lights. She wondered if she could believe that promise, or if the past would repeat itself, dragging her and Marcus back into a storm of heartbreak. The Cross Healthcare boardroom was suffocating with tension. Gleaming leather chairs lined the long mahogany table where board members sat with stern expressions. At the head stood Ryan Miller, his gaze steady, though fatigue clung to him after weeks of pressure from family and the media. Today, the board would vote on a petition to remove him as CEO, citing conduct damaging the company's reputation, specifically his public acknowledgement that Marcus was his son. Eleanor, the formidable matriarch of the Miller family, sat at the far end of the table, her eyes sharp as daggers. Beside her stood Richard, his cousin, holding a stack of documents with a smug smile. Ryan drew a deep breath before speaking. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice firm and resonant, "I have led Cross Healthcare through major expansions, improved patient care, and strengthened this company's future. And yet today, I stand accused not for mismanagement, but because I chose my family, my son Marcus, and his mother, Dr. Luna Martin. I am willing to bear the consequences if acknowledging my son is a mistake, but I will not abandon him, no matter the cost." Eleanor cut in, her tone glacial. "Ryan, you are putting personal feelings above the company's interests. The reputation of Cross Healthcare is the foundation of its success. You cannot sacrifice it for a child and a woman beneath our class." Before Ryan could reply, the boardroom doors swung open. Luna Martin strode in, clad in green surgical scrubs, her hair neatly tied back, eyes blazing with resolve. The room fell silent. Eleanor shot to her feet, her voice sharp with outrage. "You have no right to be here. This is a private board meeting." Luna offered a calm, steady smile. "Ms. Miller, as chief of surgery at Cross Memorial and the mother of Ryan Miller's son, I have every right to be here. I've come to set the record straight about the lies being spread by those who care more about appearances than truth." She stepped into the center of the room, facing the board, with the confidence of someone well acquainted with pressure. "Let me make one thing clear," she said, her voice steady yet cutting. 9 years ago, I was dismissed from Cross Memorial, not because of professional shortcomings, but because Ryan Miller, under family pressure, decided a nurse was unworthy of being his wife. I am not here to dredge up the past, but to remind you that my position today is earned through merit and dedication, not favoritism. The board murmured, their eyes flicking between Luna and Ryan. One member, Mr. Thompson, spoke up. "Dr. Martin, no one questions your abilities. However, your relationship with Mr. Miller raises concerns about a conflict of interest." Luna nodded, prepared. "I understand the concern. But look at my record: hundreds of successful surgeries, nationally recognized innovations, and the highest patient recovery rate in the region. If there are doubts, I invite the board to audit the data. As for Marcus, my son is a bright, curious child who dreams of helping others. If Cross Healthcare considers a child like that a threat to its reputation, the company may need to reassess its values. Eleanor slammed her palm on the table. You dare lecture us about values? You are nothing but... But what? Luna cut in, sharply locking eyes with her. A single mother who raised an exceptional boy on her own, a surgeon who saves lives every day, or a woman brave enough to stand against prejudice and prove her worth. Mrs. Miller, if your family cannot respect that, then it is your family, not me, who threatens the reputation of Cross Healthcare. Ryan watched her, his heart swelling with admiration and regret. He stepped forward to stand beside her. Dr. Martin is right. Cross Healthcare should stand for excellence and compassion, not outdated prejudice. I am proud to be Marcus's father, and pleased that Luna is his mother. If the board wants to remove me for that, then vote. But I will not abandon my family. The air in the room tightened like a drawn bowstring. Some board members lowered their eyes, clearly swayed. After a tense silence, Mr. Thompson rose. I move to a vote. All in favor of retaining Mr. Miller as CEO. 7 hands lifted enough to defeat the petition. Eleanor shot up from her seat, her face flushed with rage. Without a word, she stormed out with Richard trailing close behind. After the meeting, Ryan found Luna in the hospital hallway. She was reviewing patient charts, as focused as ever. Luna, he said quietly, thank you. You didn't have to do that, but you saved me today. She looked up, her gaze soft but guarded. I didn't do it for you, Ryan. I did it for Marcus. He deserves a father who doesn't hide him like a shameful secret. And I did it to ensure no one questions what I've earned. Ryan nodded, his eyes filled with hope. I understand. But what you said today, it made me realize just how wrong I was to let you go. I want to prove I've changed, not just to Marcus, but to you. Luna held his gaze torn between old scars and the sincerity in his eyes. Ryan Marcus is my priority. I won't stop you if you want to be part of his life. But as for me, I need time. Ryan accepted her words with a quiet nod. I'll wait, Luna, as long as it takes. That night, Luna sat at the dinner table with Marcus, listening as he excitedly described his plan for a model brain for the upcoming science fair. She smiled, but her thoughts drifted back to the boardroom. She realized that her actions earlier had not only been for Marcus, but also a step toward opening her heart to Ryan. She didn't know if she could ever fully trust him again, but for the first time she allowed herself to feel a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could build something new from the broken pieces of the past. The gentle glow of the afternoon sun filtered through the trees in Luna Martin's backyard, where strings of twinkling lights were carefully hung across branches, casting a warm, intimate atmosphere. A small table with fresh flowers and homemade cookies was set, Marcus and Luna's morning labor of love. Today was special. Luna and Ryan Miller were preparing to reunite in a simple wedding ceremony, attended only by close friends, trusted colleagues, and a few Miller family members who had finally begun to accept the path Ryan had chosen. Beaming in a tiny suit, Marcus stood ready with the rings, his eyes sparkling joyfully. 6 months earlier, in the Cross Memorial cafeteria, where they had first met, Ryan knelt before Luna with a simple yet elegant ring. Luna, he had said, voice trembling with emotion, I was wrong to let you go, but I promise to spend the rest of my life becoming the man you and Marcus deserve. Will you give me that chance? Though hesitant, Luna nodded, not because of his words, but his actions, his patience with Marcus, his defiance against his family, and the sincerity in every moment he shared with them. Now, under a golden sunset, Luna walked out in an elegant white dress, her hair falling softly around her shoulders. Ryan stood at the end of a flower-strewn path, his eyes fixed on her, as if she were the only thing that existed. Marcus stood proudly between them, clutching the ring box, his grin stretching ear to ear. When the officiant began, his voice carried clearly. "Do you promise to love, honor, and stand beside Luna, support her dreams, and build a family rooted in honesty?" Ryan looked into Luna's eyes, his voice unwavering. "With all my heart, I promise to do that every day." The officiant turned to Luna. "Luna, do you promise to open your heart to Ryan, to trust in his change, and to build a future together as a family?" Luna smiled, her gaze flicking to Marcus before answering. "I do." As they exchanged rings and sealed their vows with a kiss, Marcus let out a cheer that made the small crowd laugh. "I am honored to introduce the Miller family, Ryan, Luna, and Marcus," the officiant declared as applause erupted. The reception was filled with laughter and stories. Luna's colleagues from Cross Memorial recalled the surgical triumphs she had led with brilliance. At the same time, Ryan's friends spoke of his transformation from a man shackled by family expectations to a devoted father and husband who put family first. Among the guests was Ryan's Aunt Margaret, who had once opposed Luna but changed her mind. "I was wrong to judge you, Luna," she said sincerely. "You and Marcus are the pride of this family." Luna nodded, grateful but unsurprised. She had learned that respect wasn't begged for. It was earned by living true to one's values. She took Marcus's hand as he danced with friends under the lights, feeling a peace she had never known before. Ryan stood beside her, eyes filled with love. "What are you thinking?" he asked softly. "We've come a long way," Luna replied with a smile. "And I'm glad Marcus has both of us." That night, after the guests had gone, Luna, Ryan, and Marcus sat together in the backyard beneath a sky full of stars. Still excited, Marcus recounted how he almost dropped the rings during the ceremony, sending all three into laughter. "Today was the best day ever," he said, yawning. "Because now we're a real family." Ryan pulled him close, his voice tender. "We've always been a family, son. Today we just told the world." Luna watched them, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She had once feared that letting Ryan back into their lives would shatter the stability she had built for Marcus. But now she saw that this family, imperfect yet genuine, was precisely what they needed. Luna and Ryan began building their new life together in the weeks following the wedding. They moved into a new home where Marcus had a room and a corner for science projects. Despite still running Cross Healthcare, Ryan made more time for family. He learned to bake with Luna and Marcus, often leaving the kitchen a mess. And one evening, while working on a solar system model for Marcus's school project, Ryan asked, "What would you think about having a little brother or sister?" Marcus frowned in thought. "That would be fun, but I want to be the big brother and teach them to make models like this." Luna laughed, giving Ryan a playful look. "Don't rush, Mr. Miller. We're just starting over." Ryan smiled, taking her hand. "I have a lifetime to wait." At Cross Memorial, Luna continued leading her department with relentless innovation. She launched a new training program for young surgeons, inspired by her journey, and began writing a book on cardiac surgical techniques to inspire future generations. Her success silenced past rumors and established Cross Memorial as a national leader in heart surgery. One day, while attending a science exhibition with Ryan and Marcus, the boy suddenly took both their hands. "I love it when we're together. It makes me feel like I can do anything." Luna looked at Ryan, seeing pride and love shining in his eyes. At that moment, she realized that in the past, they had built a future where Marcus could grow up knowing that his family was his safe, despite all the past pain. Under the stars, Luna whispered to herself, that love wasn't perfection. It was a daily choice to trust, forgive, and move forward together. With Ryan by her side and Marcus at the center, she knew they had found life's most precious gift, a family built on resilience, courage, and unconditional love.